There is a lot of water in India. In most of the parts of India, for example, in Mumbai, there is more than 3,000 millimeter a year rainfalls, which is quite heavy if you compare it to Israel. Israel is around 800, 700, I don't know, 900, correct me if I'm wrong. But most of the water that coming here, they are going back to the sea, and because of topography and because of a lot of other issues. The main sources of water in Mumbai, there are 7 or 8 lakes around the city, not around the city exactly, but it's quite far away, 60, 70 kilometers out of the city. This is the main source of the water, with the huge pipelines that I saw all the time from the lakes coming to a filtration plant in the inner Mumbai, and bring the water into the city. But that's the best part of India. I'm not sure if this is the best part of India, because there is some problems with that, but that's not our issue. India fully understands how is important the water. There is an extremely important and extremely high investment of governmental investment in water, of course, organization, as Romiel represent one of them today. Of course, even celebrities, Indian celebrities are dealing with water, with the Fani Foundation and other organizations that dealing with water, because this is a key issue in India. And I think that the Indian government understand, like the Israeli government understand, that there is a problem and we have to solve it. There is a fantastic infrastructure here, I have to say. And if people think that in India, the water is not, the infrastructure is not, there is a fantastic infrastructure. It's not only the lakes and dams and things like that. There is a lot of plants that make a fantastic job. That's not the issue, I have to say. The issue is a water management, first of all. Second thing is how to lead the water from after the filtration of this big water coming from the lakes to the city. There is a lot of leaking. There is no 24 hours current in the pipelines inside the city. I have to say that there is some people are also connecting illegally to the water pipes. Because of no 24 hours current at the pipelines, there is a lot of corrosion, bacteria. To bring water up level to the tops, that's most of the high buildings do. They took it with the pumps, bring the water up, and that's in order to provide water 24 hours. But it's not really 24 hours, because in the pipelines of the city, there is no 24 hours water. The prices of the water is unbelievable. In my point of view, it's zero. It's very, very, very low number price of water, which lead to another problem. It's quotas. The quotas of the Indian family is much more above the Israeli quota. And it's not important for you to know, but there is a problem. But what I want to say, that there is no incentive to the private to save water. As I mentioned before, I was only 7 minutes in as a child, 7 minutes taking a shower, because I have a personal responsibility. But here, there is no incentive to save water. The more water Mumbai spend, and it's all over the other states, less water to the agriculture. And I'll come back to the agriculture within a second. Most of the farmers and the people who are dealing with agriculture, they don't pay money for water. It's subsidized by the government. Again, they don't have any incentive to save water. The second, by the way, don't pay electricity. Or if they pay very limited, just to pump. In India, there is no water law. I don't know how to define it. In Israel, of course, I think in 1954 or 1959, it was a law of water that the water is belong to the government. Here, everybody can actually dig inside the farm, pump the water, In the beginning, it was 10 meter, after the 20 meter, and I found that sometimes right now the water is coming back down to 80 meter, which is a big challenge to farmers, but it's also problematic because the salinity of the water, the saline water, become a very problematic issue. And I think that, it's a big challenge as well in India. One more thing, which is all over India, especially in Punjab and other places, is extra fertilization, which make also the water not in a good position. In Maharashtra, and Romiel knows exactly the project because he was the head of the project. Mekorot is the Israeli water company that actually deal with the Israeli government. Planned, agreed that actually going to connect the lakes together and split the water into variety of places. I have to say, without entering into politics, that the former government didn't wanted because it's a huge project. They're talking about $4 or $5 billion US, such a project. Of course, a lot of construction, nothing to do with Israel. It's mainly going to do by the Indian. We are just making the plan, but there is a willing of the new government that right now in Maharashtra is 140 million people around. It's a huge project, and I think that it's very important. I think that I'm going to meet the chief minister this week. Of course, I'm going to raise this issue, and I think it's and I tell you why I'm telling you that afterwards in the end of it. It's a big project. Romiel knows the project quite well, not quite well, very good, even much better than me. And if you will add something about this project and what, I will be more than happy afterwards. I have to say, because the farmers don't have any incentives to save water. The system, which is a very traditional system, is flooding irrigation, which also spend a lot of water. And of course, we have a solution from drip irrigations and other solution, also for fertilization. Why India? And I have to say, I'm coming with a big love to India. I really appreciate, first of all, the industry here. It's connected to Make in India. And I think that if we can do something together, a new startup or a new companies in Israel, especially coming from such a prestigious place as the Technion, can actually integrate it in the Make in India. That's first of all, and it's very important for the Indian people, and I think it's important to everybody. Second thing, I think that the budget that comes up from the government, from the federal level to the state level, is extraordinary. There is fully understanding that this is one of the most key issues in India, and they need to put money in order to give another, again, to 1.4 billion water every day. And it's not a task, as I mentioned in the beginning. Then there's a willing of the government. There is a budget, and there is a fantastic industry and a fantastic young generation, I have to say. I met them everywhere. I met them in the innovation center, in the accelerators, in the university. I meet the young generation, and they are eager. I mean, they are eager to cooperate and to coordinate with the Israeli company. And I mention it all the time. Israel is a leading state in water solutions. Right now, we don't have any water solution in Israel. And I think it's a fantastic. But to solve a problem to 1.4 billion people, it's something that we should do together. And I think that the knowledge that we have in the Israeli companies, especially gathered in the Technion, it's a golden opportunity to investors in India and in Israel to put the money, because there is a money. If it's going to be a solution, you will get the money. Then I think it's a very good, idea. Second thing, you have to remember, I'm talking about Maharashtra, but it's all over. You know, most of the biggest conglomerates, they're sitting here. We have a very good connections with all of them. from Reliance and Adani and other companies, Induja, all of them are, as Tata, all of them are dealing this way or another with the water solutions. And we have very good connections. Then if such a project is going to be here with the Israeli companies, the distance between the solution and the companies is going to be very, very, very short. 1.4 billion people, it's not only a question of money, of water, it's a question of power and markets. And I think that the Israeli company needs to understand it. And I think it's extremely important to come to Mumbai, because the connections that they will get here with the Indian companies going to be a fantastic, in my point of view. Mumbai, for example, is an international city. I live in Mumbai. Believe me, it's an international city. I loved Mumbai for many, many years, and I saw the progress of this city. You have here everything from medical services to internet services, facility extraordinary. Sometimes we have very good loans and very good initiatives from the government. And I think that we can work together. I just would like to end with about the Technion, which is also, I mentioned before, Technion is I was not accepted as a student of the Technion. I have a bad feeling towards the Technion, but probably because I'm not talented enough. But we have 3 or 4 Nobel laureates coming from the Technion. A lot of initiatives coming from this fantastic historical technical university. And if I have to choose a place to coordinate with India, that's going to be the Technion. Thank you so much, and sorry for the long speech that I
Thank you so much, Kobi. I forgot to mention one thing about Kobi before I started, that he has been in India just over a year. So it's just amazing how much he has understood of the ecosystem in just 1 year's time. So thank you so much, Kobi, for that really insightful talk. Our next speaker is a friend, Nicholas Osbert. He is the head of the WASH for UNICEF India. Nicholas has been, UNICEF has 13 offices in India, so they cover more than 50% of India. And Nicholas has been in India for the past 6 years. Unfortunately for India, Nicholas is now being transferred next month, I understand, to the relief efforts in Ukraine. So we wish him the best, and thank you so much, Nicholas, for being here with us. Nicholas?
Thanks, Romiel. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I hope you can hear me well. I echo your words. I'm quite impressed for a consul 1 year in India, how much knowledge you have. It makes me very humble. All right, so...
Nicholas, we can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me?
We cannot see you.
Well, I see.
Yes, now we are fine. Now you're fine.
All right. So indeed, I've been here for 5 years now, and it's a very interesting country, and it's very interesting to be able to work in water and sanitation here. In all the country I've worked in for UNICEF or other development agencies, this is the best drive for water and sanitation that I've been participating to in my career. So I'll try to give you a bit of insights of what's going on here, if it can help, just to confirm that there is a huge business opportunity in India in water and sanitation, and also that thanks to what I see from the government, there are long-term relationship with Israel, and with a lot of respect. So a lot of doors could be open to you. A bit of background. Nowadays, so there used to be the issue of water and investment of the government started in 1970s, and with this accelerated rural water supply program, And it was mainly focusing on stand posts, on hand pumps in rural areas. And but it achieved some results, but there were a lot of limitations. It was a very much infrastructure-driven program. There were a lot of discrepancy and planning issues. And there were also issues of water source sustainability. And it didn't go that far. And the good news for the Indian people and for all of us, it's the launch in 2019 of the Jal Jeevan mission, which means Water for Life mission, by the Prime Minister of India. And this is a rural water supply program, but understand in India, rural includes small towns, and small towns in India can have the size of Tel Aviv or of Paris, where I come from, almost. It's not just rural, it's also like urban as well. And it's a very result-driven program, and with a financial outlay worth $70 billion. That's the total investment. If you add the investment from the central government, from the state government, and from the partners of the government, it adds up to $70 billion by 2024. And we anticipate an extension of the program beyond that date. So India is in a race to provide safe drinking water to all rural households. It's important to focus on rural. There are issues in urban areas, but much less compared to rural. So from a public standpoint, and it's where the business lies, right? And so if you look at the water supply services, we in UNICEF and others, we don't only look at the infrastructure part. It's also very much on all the software, the management. I'll come to that. And so this program is designed as a community-owned water supply program with a lot of efforts on source sustainability. It's not just providing about rainwater harvesting, groundwater recharge, and reuse of gray waters across the board. Hence, on what you bring in India, your expertise, of course, in the area, the technical area, monitoring systems, ways to have to avoid wastage of water are welcome, but also think about management, water quality monitoring, and also behavior change. As mentioned by the Council, I'm a bit shocked in India that somehow water is free, and it's a demagogic, sometimes political demagogic promise to the people that water is free. I'm working with UNICEF. We are a right-based organization, although we are a right-based organization, but we don't promote free water. We promote affordable, safe water. And because the more we go, the more water will have a price, and the more people need to understand that water cannot be used and it's not an infinite resource, as we all know. So think about those software aspects, because this is also where the business is. It's not just about nuts and bolts and infrastructure. From our development jargon, you should know a bit how we speak about. I hope you have heard about the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, and which ended in 2015. Under these Millennium Development Goals, the objective was to provide improved water supply to everyone. And it means but after 2015, the ambitions and the accountability have gone up. And there are new criteria to consider that people have right to safe water. The criteria are: one, that water supply should be on premises, not walking 30 minutes to fetch water. And you have to imagine what it means here when you go to the field, people under the heat, and it's mainly women and girls having to do that several times per day. So now the criteria is located on premises, available when needed. It means 24/7 water supply. It's far from reality. And finally, free of contamination, both chemical and bacteriological contamination. And so under the Millennium Development Goals, improve water supply, which means that it can be far away and will stand with a hand pump. India, in rural India, has reached 93% coverage. And now if you apply those criteria on premises, free of contamination and available all the time, then it goes down to 49% of the rural population having this safely managed drinking water. These are independent statistics from WHO and UNICEF. A few more words on the context. You all have heard about the issue of climate change, and unfortunately, India is the 7th most vulnerable country in the world to climate change. There are many statistics. You can find a lot in the literature, but there are more than 350 polluted rivers. There are some very serious reports estimating that 70% of India's surface water is contaminated. And also we have big pockets of population that are affected by arsenic and fluoride. Understand that a pocket of population in India is the whole of Israel or the whole of Belgium. It's big, right? Everything is big here. So you have to think about the scale of your business. India is ranked 13 in the world in terms of extremely high water stress. In a list of 189 countries, and 5 of the world's 20 largest water stress cities are in India. But this issue of climate change should not make us forget that water issues in India, as in many other places of the world, are still predominantly human mistake-related issues. We heard from the other panelists about the wastage of water. There is no meter. So people just use water. There is no tariff. So people just spoil water. And then there are issues in terms of quality of construction and practices as well for agriculture. India extracts more underground water than China and the USA combined. Imagine. And 80% of this is for agriculture. It's not for drinking water. So here in the area of water conservation, the new technologies that can be brought from Israel, it's really also about improving the productivity of and the use of water for agriculture, which is a real issue here, which is a deep political issue. The Prime Minister has tried to do an agricultural reform recently. It didn't work out, and still the small farmers are in a very difficult situation. Keep in mind that every year, unfortunately, there are many suicides linked to that. So solving this issue of water for agriculture is very complex. It's technical, but it's also very much managerial and mobilizing people and changing the habits in the field, not just the technical part, right? So now this is for the challenges and for the opportunities at your reach. So I mentioned this big program, Jal Jeevan Mission, and going super fast. It's a campaign mode. So the government needs all human resources available. Since it started in 2019, the access to safely managed to tap water at the household level has increased from 17%, 17, in 2019 to about 52% today. So it goes very fast, but there are also mistakes in the quality. So the interesting part that you need to keep in mind, it's all this water supply all the system is designed to be community owned and community operated. And there is a very strong push here in the development agenda to empower women to be also leaders for water issues at the local level. And this is working very well. In UNICEF, we have skilling programs towards women. They become masons. They become water operators. And this is a game changer in empowering women and empowering community to manage locally all the water supply and sanitation services. So whatever you can bring in terms of innovation, in terms of skilling, life skill and continuous skilling, using not lecturing in big rooms, but more edutainment. India is a country of information technology. You will find mobile phones in the hands of any people in the field. Even in remote areas, people have smartphones and they are very tech savvy. So if you can, for monitoring purposes or for training purpose, think about that and helping also the government and the counterparts to develop training content that is accessible for the people and allows them to be aware of the new technology to save water, to manage water. It's also, so everything, it's a bottom-up system where, you know, the government is empowering the villages to have their own plans, which looks at water supply, water source sustainability, and multiple source of fundings. This is a bit a complexity. It's not just one budget. At the grassroots level, the local authorities and the communities can knock to 5 to 10 doors. And this is make it complex for people to understand what budget can pay for what. So this is the type of support we provide. So you see, it's far away from water supply technology. It's more about budget management, planning, and monitoring at the grassroots level. I will very quickly run through the key challenges that we see in the field. So indeed, UNICEF has a strong presence here. We have been established in India since 1949, imagine, and we have 13 field offices. So as for the government of Israel, we have a very close relationship with many partners, the government at the national level and in states, but also academic institutions and corporates established locally. So we now have a formalized partnership with Indus and Romiel and team. So count UNICEF as part of the solution in whatever you endeavor. If you flourish your business in India, this will have an impact on the Indian children and makes UNICEF very happy. So the key issues, one is water management. I mentioned that already, and here we really need to create expertise at the grassroots level, and this is what we've been doing, having some care resource centers of excellence decentralized, and also trying to having more collaboration between the government and NGOs. But from a managerial standpoint, this is very difficult because the numbers are huge. We're talking about up to 50,000 NGOs to be trained and engaged to organize the work at the community level. There is a lot to be done in information technology for water monitoring at the grassroots level. As much as India is very tech savvy, having something that is easy to use, that can adapt to different type of connectivity. In Mumbai, you will not find the connectivity that you have the far end of Bihar. Remember that name, Bihar? This is one of the most difficult and backward states there. So whatever you do in India, if it works in Bihar, it will work anywhere else, right? And finally, it's all the work around professionalizing the service providers at the grassroots level. So not just technology, but skilling, flexible skilling that reaches people in the local language, and local women self-help group will be very helpful. The second issue is around source sustainability. We are talking about underground water depletion going down by 2 meters every 10 years. Every decade, the underground water in 2/3 of the rural districts is going down by 2 meters. It tells you about, and it's accelerating. And here, it's all the work, the technology on gray water management to ensure that water that is not harmful for health percolates on the ground and recharges the underground water. And it's also about rainwater harvesting. But there is also a big demand in all the underground water monitoring system, flexible, real-time monitoring system of underground water so that government and local authorities can anticipate the droughts and take corrective measures. And the third key challenge is around water quality. The more there is water stress, the more we face risks of chemical contamination with arsenic and other very harmful chemicals, but also bacterial contamination. And there is a big gap in this water supply program of the government. It's about chlorination of water. Because at the end of the day, I go to the field often. If the water doesn't smell chlorine, I will not drink it. And so the government is very much convinced, but it's not happening. This is the best way to protect water sustainably. You can have safe water on the tap, but then you store it in a dirty place in the household, it becomes contaminated again. So local production units, dosing pumps, and automated monitoring of the residual chlorine can go very far in India currently, right? So I will end there soon. We'll be happy to work with you on all this work around strengthening the capacity for water monitoring. It's about the labs, the professional, but it's also about the communities, giving them some water quality monitoring kits that they can use, and that to inform the government on the water contamination issues. And I'll finish just to let you know what UNICEF is currently doing to support this program. So number one, we are tasked by the government to conduct the impact assessment of this program. So that will be very interesting. This is a big report. We need some help here. That will go directly in the hand of the Prime Minister. We also working on water supplies in schools, preschools, and health facilities. It's not just communities. All those public areas require safe drinking water, and there's a huge demand there, and we focus on that. We take the lead in training the trainers that will train the people on the ground. In India, to reach the ground, you have to train someone that finally will train that someone that provides a service. So think about this iteration. To reach the field, you need to go through many people in between. And of course, we support the state level, district level planning, budgeting for water supply. And our added value is around behavior change. If you have any added value here on the nudge theory, at the end of the day, it will be difficult to improve the water management if you don't change the behaviors at the grassroots level. So again, and here we need creative agencies, we need innovation on how to, we heard previously that the government is mobilizing superstars from the sports industry, from the movie industry, but how to, have this behavior change, reaching the people so that the water wastage and respect of water and water having a price is also understood, and water quality is also understood at the grassroots level. If the communities ask for something, the decision makers and the politicians will follow. And yeah, I'll pause it here. Very happy to continue this dialogue through time. I'm indeed leaving to Kiev, but we have a team of about 33 people here, plus about 150 consultants, and the whole UNICEF teams will be very happy to collaborate on your projects in India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicholas, for taking us right from the micro level to the macro level. Problems of India, and that's exactly what we wanted. Nicholas, should we show the clip that you had suggested we should show?
If time allows, yes, because this is a speech from a foreigner, you will see a bit of more images from the ground. Yeah.
Okay, so Mayan, if you could just have a quick clip that UNICEF has made, so give context to the people who are from Israel.
The sound is not coming, I believe.
And there is no sound. Mayan, we can't hear anything.
No sound.
Of the village revolve. Water. It's something most of us take for granted. And yet, in the drought-prone regions of the country, it is a daily struggle. The lack of clean drinking water plays havoc with the village life, affecting everything from health and livelihoods to the education of children. In fact, the life of the village revolves around water. Everything else is secondary. While a tanker from outside may provide momentary relief, it is not a sustainable solution. The tanker in the village has become an indicator of water emergency.
उन्हाळ्यात आम्हाला पाण्याचा खूप त्रास होतो. विहिरीवरून पाणी आणावं लागतं पाणी नसल्यामुळे. कधी एक एक दिवस आंघोळ सुद्धा भेटत नाही. स्वयंपाकनं लेट होतो. कपडे भांडे सगळे टाइम मध्ये होत. न पिणाऱ्या विहिरीमधलं सुद्धा पाणी आम्हाला आणावं लागतं उन्हाळ्यात. आणि त्या विहिरींचं पाण्याने मुलांना आजार येतात. लहान मुलांना पाणी न चांगले भेटल्यामुळे त्रास होतो. उन्हाळ्याचा आजार, साथीचे रोग वगैरे येतात.
कामधंद्याच्या दृष्टीतून आपण सगळे शेती मंडळी शेतीला पाऊस नाही पडल्यानंतर आपण शेती करायची कशी काय? आधी पाणी गेल्यामुळे आता सगळं टंचाई आली. मग आपला वॉटर पंप हा बंद आहे. पाणी आणावसाठी 4 किलोमीटर लांब जावं लागते पाणी आणायला. सगळं कामाचा वेळ सोडून पाणी जावं लागतं आपल्याला. तिथे शेतात काम करता येत नाही. कबळ सगळी उपाधी राहतात मागं.
The drought results in major crop losses, seriously compromising food security. This puts an additional burden on the families that are already malnourished and vulnerable. Women and children are the worst hit. In rural Maharashtra, 85 to 90% drinking water supply schemes are groundwater based. There is no system of transfer of water from water surplus basin areas to water deficit basins. This compounds the problem during droughts. Scarcity of drinking water adversely affects personal hygiene and leads to a host of water-washed and waterborne diseases. In fact, India accounts for 22% of the global burden for under 5 mortality due to diarrhea.
इथं एवढं पाण्याचा स्रोत दिसतोय हा, तर त्यांचे मुलं आंघोळीला, धुण्याला, भांड्याला, स्वयंपाकाला सगळं पाणी इथूनच जातं. आणि जनावर आहेत, जनावरांना पण ते पाणी इथूनच नेतात. किंवा जनावरांची शाळा आहेत त्या पण इथंच पाणी प्यायला येतात. आणि हे पाणी आणि तेच पाणी प्यावं लागतं. त्याच्यामुळे पर्याय त्यांना आजाराला सामोरं जावं लागतं.
Water scarcity also comes in the way of children's education.
आमच्या गावामध्ये पाणी टंचाई असल्यामुळे आम्हाला रानातल्या विहिरीवर पाणी आणायला जायला लागतं. पाणी टंचाई असल्यामुळे जनावरांना पाणी भेटत नाही वेळच्या वेळी लवकर. आम्हाला शाळेत लवकर वेळेवर पोहोचता येत नाही. त्यामुळे अभ्यासावर खूप मोठा परिणाम होतो.
Truly, water scarcity is destroying lives and jeopardizing the future of our children. There is really no way out without developing a sustainable water management system, making safe drinking water a priority. Every single drop of water is important. Tomorrow depends on how we act today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nicholas. As far as your term of a foreigner giving a perspective, I think you have a better perspective because we grew up in India with the same thing and we tend to ignore the obvious. So your perspective was very, very important, and thank you so much for sharing that with us, and all the very best on your new assignment. We now decided we thought it'd be a good idea to understand a couple of Israeli startups and the perspective that the Israeli startups will have for the kind of work they and the applicability of the Israeli startups to the Indian scenario. With that context, we sort of called on two of our friends. The first, of course, is Clive Lipshin, who is the director of the Arava Institute, and he runs a startup called Laguna Innovations, and we have been working with them for some time. I thought it would be appropriate to understand how Clive can integrate into the Indian society. So Clive, if you could kindly take over from here.
Thank you, Romeo, and thank you, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to present at this very important webinar. So I'm going to show you a couple of slides about the technology that we have developed here in Israel, which we believe has a very good, provides very good solutions to some of the water challenges that India deals with, specifically in the issue of wastewater management. So I'll share my screen. Okay, so the company that we have developed here in Israel is called Boon Innovation. The company is it's okay. You see it? Okay, so the company was developed through projects that we implemented through the work that I do at the Arava Institute for Environmental Studies, which is a non-profit academic research and development organization here in Israel, where we work cross-border with Palestinians and Jordanians and others in the Middle East region. Many of them sharing similar water challenges such as we've seen described today in India. So in response to these issues, mostly in the area of challenges with respect to how to manage wastewater, which Israel is a world leader in wastewater management. Not only is a leader in wastewater management, but is a leader in understanding the value of wastewater in that it can be treated to a high quality to be reused in irrigation. The question is, how do you do this in places like India, where there are so many challenges with respect to infrastructure, to management, access to financing, governance, and so forth. So our thinking is to see how to best approach this problem in an Indian context and in a developing world context at a local level, or at a level where you can offer these technologies on site in locations that are off the grid. So this is why we are rethinking wastewater treatment, as it is in the article. Our company has thought through a lot of the challenges that have already been mentioned with respect to what's going on in India. We are looking at wastewater treatment solutions that are off the grid, meaning that these are places that do not have access to sewer networks, so they don't have the opportunity to send their sewage to wastewater treatment facilities. And so in essence, the result is that the sewage is just dumped into the environment, either directly through dumping into discharge into river systems, or of course into cesspits, neither of which is a good solution. So we're looking at these issues, but we also understand that we have to find a means to have large-scale impact beyond small-scale systems. So what you see here in this slide is just some of the things that we've looked at that needs to happen if we are to have effective impact to this issue in India and in other places. You need to be modular and scalable. You need to think about operational costs that are as low as possible, given, again, the challenges of poverty and lack of capacity and governance. A big challenge with wastewater treatment, whether it's large scale or small scale, is sludge management. Anything that can remove or minimize sludge production is an advantage. We have developed a patented technology, which I'll describe in a second, called the vertical green wall biofilter. We are able to produce treated water suitable for agricultural production that meets Israeli standards, which is less than 10 milligram per liter BOD. In other words, we can get the water to a very high quality for irrigation, which can have huge impact for everything that was just said already with respect to how much water is being used in India for agriculture. In other words, strong connection between water security and food security. We need to think about the business model, how we price, and to think very much about payment options that are very flexible, given, again, the financial challenges that you face when you're operating in developing world scenarios. This is the challenge that we are trying to address. We're trying to address the challenge that only 54% of the world's population had access to safely managed sanitation in the year 2020. And our solution to addressing some of this is through decentralized wastewater treatment, which can offer an economical and environmental solution to off-grid communities. Off-grid communities are nearly 70% of the world's population. And by solving the sanitation problem, you're immediately helping to improve health and promoting global food security. You can see, of course, the risks people face when their sewage is not being treated. There's a strong linkage between lack of sanitation, environmental problems, and public health. And all of this is very much part of global water scarcity. If you cannot treat wastewater to a high enough quality, you cannot then use it in agriculture. In other words, if you can solve that problem, you can address some of the water scarcity problems that many communities face throughout the world, including India. So this is some of the assumptions that we have made based on a proof of concept project that we have now operating in a Palestinian village in the northern West Bank, where again there is lack of access to sewer grids, but there's a very high demand for water for agriculture, specifically for olive oil production, which is a very high value crop in the Middle East. We can treat the wastewater at a local level at around 50 US cents per person per day. This will be savings in something like $5.5 in lower health costs, because you'll be improving public health, less problems with respect to things like cholera outbreaks, diarrhea, hospital visitations, the fact that kids won't be able to go to school. All of this is a very important aspect in solving the sewage crisis. And on the other side, providing high quality water for irrigation, we estimate can provide something like a $60,000 profit for olive oil production per annum. And we are now directly testing these assumptions out in the project that we're doing with our Palestinian partners. Of course, we're not the only ones that are looking at these issues, but a market analysis that we have done have shown that some of the main problems with respect to current technologies that are decentralized for wastewater treatment is that they have low capacity, high energy consumption, there's limited control and monitoring, and the biggest problem of all is the fact that nearly all of the competitors that we've looked at in one way or another have a problem with how to dispose of sludge, and you can see there approximately 40% of wastewater treatment deals with the operating costs of solids management, in other words, how to get rid of the sludge. So this is a review of the technology that we have now developed here. We already have 2 operational projects, one in a Bedouin school in the Negev, which is servicing a school of 3,000 students, and the Palestinian project that I mentioned, which is servicing around 300 residents. And we have looked at these challenges, as has already been mentioned by the previous speaker, which we think is very suitable for the Indian market. One, the system is completely energy self-sufficient, no need for any access to grid connectivity, because our system runs on solar power and has battery backup, so it operates 24/7. A major advantage to our technology and very much part of our patent is that our system does not produce any sludge. I can explain that more from an engineering perspective, but time won't allow me to do that now. But we basically produce zero sludge, which is a big advantage. The treatment is a biofilter, which we term the vertical green wall. By treating wastewater vertically, you also have a much smaller footprint in terms of the amount of land that one needs for wastewater treatment, as opposed to the more conventional constructed wetland technologies or activated sludge technologies. Our technologies are modular and scalable, so as the client's needs grow, so too can our systems. And also very important and also very relevant to working in very problematic areas such as India that are remote, where capacity is low. Our systems are fully integrated with a remote monitoring operation system, which means that one can set up a system in a remote village, but operate it, literally hundreds or thousands of kilometers away through remote monitoring and operation. I won't spend time on this slide, but this is pretty much a flow diagram of how the things work. I can go into that in more detail if time allows, or if people want to get back to me via email. But the results speak for themselves. This is a data analysis that we took from one of our pilot projects operating in Israel. You can see there a huge improvement if you look at the percentages columns in the quality of the effluent. Basically, again, we are meeting or even exceeding the Israeli effluent standards for reuse in agriculture. So if we can meet the Israeli standards, which are one of the strictest in the world, I'm fully confident we can meet the Indian standards as well. This is just 2 examples of what we're doing in the Bedouin community in Israel. Again, very, very extreme conditions, as you see there in the photographs. We therefore feel confident that we could operate in such similar conditions in India. A huge advantage to our systems as opposed to alternative solutions that also operate like constructed wetlands is we can treat black water. In other words, constructed wetland limitations is that they can only treat gray water, but our technology can take all of the sewage at a very high BOD, can be, you know, for example, the BOD can be 300 to 1,000 milligram per liter, which would be very typical in the Indian context, especially under conditions of water scarcity, where people most likely use more than once. So the organic load can be really, really, really high. We can take care of that high organic load, no problem, and we can get it again to a situation where the water will be adequate for agriculture. These are some of the alternatives that we have looked at in the market. And again, we feel that we have a very strong competitive advantage, both in the technology and the way we're thinking about our business model for financing. So these are just three concepts of how one can approach the financing of projects such as ours. We can consider direct purchase, pay-per-use, or a bundled model. In the case of India, we are thinking more about a bundled model. We know, and Romiel and I have had many discussions, that one cannot succeed in India without an effective local partner that understands the local market and how things work in India. So we at Laguna are actively seeking local partners that we would work with directly. We're also looking at companies that are already well established in India in the water sector, such as irrigation companies like Netafim and others, to see how we can work together with them and offer a packaged solution to water, specifically the treatment of sewage for agricultural and or non-consumptive purposes. This is a timeline of production. At the moment, we are producing our systems in Israel. We have no interest to do manufacturing in Israel. Another strong strategy for us in entering the Indian market is, once we have able to identify an appropriate local Indian partner, we want to do manufacturing in Israel. That's really important for us as a company. We also have a social vision. We want to promote jobs. We want to improve the economic situation of the people that we work with. The system, again, is designed that nearly all of it can be effectively manufactured in a low-income country. Obviously, as a company, we will keep certain aspects of our IP only in Israel, but most of the facilities that we want to distribute in India or in other markets. I just came back from South Africa. We just signed a contract to implement 2 systems, is to do local manufacturing. And once we have that, of course, we can roll out systems through an assembly line and have very rapid implementation in the market. This is sort of a summary of where we are as a company. And you can please visit our website at lagunareuse.com for more information. And again, I want to say thank you. Firstly, thank you for listening. Thank you to Romiel and the Technion for bringing this opportunity together. And I look forward to hopefully finding an opportunity to bring Laguna innovation and the overall opportunities of treating wastewater for non-consumptive use. And we are focusing specifically in off-grid regions. So we're not looking to solve the city of Mumbai's problems, but we are looking to solve communities, not just rural communities like we saw in the video, but also something that I've discussed with Romiel. Any kind of real estate or facilities development in India, in certain Indian states, where regulations are becoming tighter for wastewater treatment. So we could offer a solution together with a contractor who cannot get a building license until he can solve his sewage problem on site. We can offer the on-site solution in partnership with the developer, helping that developer meet the stricter regulations that are coming down in certain states in India. And therefore, that is another area that we're interested in. So that could be more of a high-end solution for example, in real estate development, and also a low-end solution for working with communities in the more rural and poorer areas of India. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Clive. That was really insightful. And what Clive is actually doing is typically the kind of startup that we are looking at in this program between Technion, T-Hub, and Indus. This is the kind of typical startup that we think has opportunity in India. And we have structured our entire program around opportunities like this. we have another friend from a company called Newsite, and Gilad is the development director business development director of Newsite, and they are coming from another end of the startup community of Israel. And our whole idea was to get the high tech and people also involved. And he has a solution from the monitoring and the control of contaminated water. Gilad, the field is yours.
Thank you very much, Romeo, and thank you all for joining. And thank you for this opportunity to present at this webinar. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Gilad Horn. I'm the Business Development Director at Watersight. Romeo, you said new site. I will explain in a moment. We are connected. There will be an explanation about that. I've been in water for all of my professional life, water, wastewater. By the way, thank you, Clive, for that very interesting presentation of your technology as well. I'll be happy to share what we do at Watersight. We are in water monitoring. I've been privileged that I've been able to travel in India as a tourist, but also have been able to work a little bit in India. So I know I have some experience and very much looking forward to doing more things in India. With your permission, I'll share my presentation. Here we go. So again, we are Watersight. I'll explain in a moment the connection to other companies. The world is facing an invisible water crisis. Not my words, it's the words of the World Bank. We cannot know the water quality in real time. This is the big issue. Usually water monitoring today is either too slow, too expensive, very relevant for India, too large, also very relevant for many places where you can't put small things. Many times they require their own room, air conditioning, trained personnel. Many of them are uncommunicative, non-scalable. Some of them require a lab. So it's just, there's this big kind of problem with water monitoring online. And if there is something that works, it's usually very, very large and expensive. That's why Watersight was founded. We're not going to solve all of them, but we hopefully will solve some of the more pressing issues. We are a joint company between Newsite Imaging and Mekorot. So Mekorot is the national Israeli water company. As you know, water is very scarce in Israel, like in many places, and becoming more and more in the world. We recycle 90% of our wastewater almost. We desalinate almost 85% of our drinking water. This is the way we deal with scarcity. We do this not because we want to be green. We do this because we have no other choice. And that's why this is happening. Newsite Imaging is our mother company as well. They produce spectral chips, just like CMOS sensors, like in your cell phone, but for spectral imaging and also for LiDARs and 3D, Industry 4.0, etc. Now, Watersight is a company that is about 1 year and 3 months old, but we've had 2 years of R&D with Mekorot, and also we have a sister company called Virosight using the exact same technology. But is already looking and sees COVID in bodily fluids. So we've had a lot of experience taking their technology and bringing it on to our world. Now, everything we do is based on this tiny little chip I'm holding here in my hand. It's called the NSP 1020. It's a full multi-array spectral chip. It sees in the visible and near infrared spectrum. I won't get much more technical than that. Please don't worry. And it's AI ready. So everything it sees as data. And this data can be pushed onto the cloud. We have produced our first product, which is called the Aquaring. The Aquaring here, again, I'm holding it in my hand. It's a tiny little device. It's an IoT device. It's smaller than my 180 milliliter glass of coffee that I'm drinking here. It's a tiny device, can be integrated in any kind of water system, agricultural system, industrial system to look at the quality of water in real time. One of the more interesting things about it, because it's based on a low-cost chip that we produce, it's a low-cost device when compared to other water monitoring solutions today. So it's very scalable. We can put many of these together to send data to the cloud and then give us real-time analysis as to the water quality, safety, and security. Now, what we measure, we don't look for specific parameters. What we do, we call it condition-based water monitoring. It is a two-step system because it's all based on machine learning. So the first step is we teach it to see whatever kind of water normal water is flowing through. This can be processed water, this can be drinking water, irrigation water, reused effluent, etc. And whenever there is a change from the normal quality, then we alert and then we learn. Here, for example, this is 5-second samples taken over a 2-hour period. It learned to see clean water. And here we added 1 drop of blue food coloring. Here we added another one. As you can see, we immediately see the change in water quality in our spectrum and alert to it and then learn. So the next time this happens, we will alert that blue food coloring was added, or a discoloration of the water, or iron in water, or many other things. Our business model is sensing as a service. It's a SaaS-based model, so there is a one-time fee, low fee, in the low hundreds of dollars for a unit, and a very low fee for the use of the software, the machine learning software, to use the data behind it. This is the largest growing water vertical right now, from now until 2030, according to Bluefield Research and other prestigious water business intelligence bodies. In the past year and 3 months, these are some of the companies we've been working with. We're coming out with a pilot program that we already have the first companies that have already signed up to it. So Mekorot, of course, is on board. It's our mother company, and we're going to monitor. This could be very relevant for India, for Indian rivers. We're going to monitor the quality of the River Jordan leading up to the Lake Kinneret from quality and from safety and security point of view. We're working with Moen, the largest faucet manufacturer in the United States. We work with Netafim, the Israeli innovator of drip irrigation. We can see, especially when you're watering with environmental, like flood water or reused wastewater, we can see the differences between different types of these water, and then we can say what the treatment should be upstream. Again, this is all in real time, so it's more like a decision support system than a water quality tool. We have A2A, the largest Italian utility, is already a customer of ours. We work with AB InBev, the world's largest brewer. What we do is very relevant for the industry, also in India. So it's not only wash, but also industrial applications, especially food and beverage, but also pharma and some chemicals. Our team, so it's myself and Libby, who is with us on this call as well, Erez Lev, Michal Cooper, Eli and Eyal, who are the founders of NewSite and WaterSite. David Balsar, the head of innovation in Mekorot, is on our board. We have Dr. Nativ Rothbard, chemist and agronomist. I'll run very quickly through use cases that we can do, so you can get an idea. And I think, again, this is really relevant also for the Indian market, all of them. For example, food and beverage process control, we can see things, for example, like if you're doing a batch system, so we can see things like detergent concentrations, but more interesting, especially where quality assurance is required, we can see different fingerprints, right? So maybe beer is less relevant, but soft drinks are. In utilities, municipal utilities, we can see the changes in real time. And because the AquaRing is a very small system and a very small and scalable unit, you can put in many places in a city or in a neighborhood at relatively very low cost when compared to whatever monitoring solutions you have today. You can scale this up and put many of them in different neighborhoods. And then you can not only see that there is a change in water quality, you can see in real time where it's emanating from, right? So let's say we have a corrosion event starting here and moving downstream. So we'll see it at a higher concentration starting here and then moving to these, so we can pinpoint. Usually with water quality systems, you can usually afford to have one in a city. So here you can have tens in a city or hundreds in a city for the price of one. Wastewater effluent monitoring. I don't know how much this is prevalent in India, the irrigation of wastewater effluent, right? Or of course, it is very prevalent sending it down to the river. So in real time, it's very easy for us to tell between raw wastewater, raw sewage, different types of wastewater effluent, secondary, tertiary, flood water, drinking water, all of these, we can see this very easily. So sending it down to reuse could be a very easy thing for us, and monitoring. Romuald is telling me we are running late, so I'll keep this very short. I'll run through the next ones. Environmental monitoring, cyanobacteria. Again, we see these very easily. We can tell in real time, saving people's lives, saving animal, livestock lives, etc. We're coming out with a pilot program right now. We already have the first companies that have enrolled, and we're looking for others. You get from us a few aqua rings and the ability to test them with our very close guidance. So it's kind of like a software developer kit. And it's really nice. And this, in a month, you can really understand what we are doing together. And in India, what we're looking for. So we are looking for distributors, people that can take our technology and distribute it throughout the Indian market, in industry, in utility, for agriculture, etc. We are looking also for partners to test the technology and for investors as well to help us come in specifically to the Indian market. Thank you very much. Romuald, I hope that was fast enough.
Yeah, that was super. Thank you so much, Gilad.
Sure.
The bottom line is what we wanted to show everyone and was that the Israeli technologies and the applicability to the Israeli technologies can be done through a program like us. So I will quickly run through, our presentation that we have about our program, so people can sort of understand. Can you see the screen? Yes. If you can.
Not yet.
Okay. So.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I can't see the screen. I can see the
We
screen.
see your desktop. We don't see the presentation.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Can you see that
Great.
now? Excellent. So the whole idea of this program is actually Nicholas and Kobe have been very kind to give us a cover of what the problem in statements in India are. So we just want to run through this very quickly and to understand three basic challenges which have been so elaborately discussed by Nicholas. One is about the millions of villages that have arsenic and fluoride because the groundwater has fallen. I have seen it personally in Bihar, where even the fields are being irrigated with arsenic and contaminated water. And therefore, of course, the food is being contaminated, and therefore we are eating that similar food. The second problem is, of course, the groundwater contamination, which is all the waste is most of the waste in India is untreated, put into the groundwater, put into the rivers, which is creating downstream pollution. So even if certain villages are maintaining hygiene, the water coming in from upstream is actually affecting the entire village. The third aspect, of course, is that more than 70% of our rivers are contaminated. This picture is very, very interesting because it's actually industrial effluent and froth that is going on this river. And the lady in the picture is actually praying because this is one of the holy rivers of India. So it symbolizes the pollution, the problem, the blind faith, all these things in one picture. We thought that it would be very relevant. So what is our fitting solution, which we want Israeli experts and Indian experts and startups to come in? India requires effectively low-tech smart solutions. We do not require something elaborate, something like, Clive has explained, something like Gilad has explained, simple solutions that can be implemented at the ground level. Cost, of course, is a major issue because we require scale in India. Because if an arsenic village is there, there are 45,000 arsenic affected villages in India, which are officially on the World Bank list. So these are all challenges, and we require solutions that will fit the access and services for the small scale at house level, at village level. These are the challenges that we are trying to look at. Now, the opportunities for startups are huge. For the Israeli startups, there is a huge opportunity to be handheld into India, adapt your technology for India, because we're going to have a bunch of Indian mentors and technical people. We're going to have a bunch of Israeli mentors from the Technion and from Israel who are going to have a cross supporting each other. So Indian startups are actually going to be going to Israel and getting validation for their technologies and support, and Israeli startups are going to get support from the Indian side. So the program is effectively going to be for an 8 to 12 month period, where we are going to invite applications. We're going to have select finally 15 applications, and then we're going to mentor and handhold them through the entire year till the proof of concept, where we will be giving them projects to execute within India, so they can actually have a proof of concept, and they can have the technology validated in ground level situations. So what we're calling upon you, we're calling on partners, we're calling on sponsors, we're calling on venture capitalists, all to come forward and support us in this 12-month year program, which is going to significantly affect the startup scenario and the water situation in India. Thank you all. I'll hand it over to Mayan to give us the closing comments.
So as we heard, there are huge opportunity and some solutions to fit it. We are looking to raise $1 million for the program for the startups, to invest in the startups that will take place in our program. We are recruiting the partners to do so, and we have already commitments of 50% of this sum, plus $250,000 for the program itself, for the establishment and the management of the program. So as Romiel mentioned, we're looking for design partners, we're looking for the startups that will be part of this program and that have the ideas to solve these issues and enjoy the huge markets. And India is, of course, just the beginning. We really see lots and lots of business opportunity on both sides here, as mentioned before by more important and bigger people than I am. And I hope you can join us. And if any other questions, it's not, today is just the exposure, it's just the beginning, we're heading to a new way. You can meet us, have a one-on-one meeting, and we can discuss further cooperation with you. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.